Okay, time to review some actually difficult problems. So I went ahead and made the parallelogram with diagonals intersecting at E. So you can see the diagonals and they cross at point E right here. If A to E is equal to 4x minus 8 and EC is equal to 64, then what's the value of x? Well, I know that A to E, since properties of opposite angles of parallelograms are congruent, then I know the distance from A to E is going to be equal to that of E to C. So I went ahead and set up a problem to where they're equal to each other. And this is just solving a two-step equation. So plus 8. So this is using the properties. That's why we were going over the properties so much over the last couple weeks. Talking about shapes. Know the things about the shapes. What is it that makes the shape the way it is? And then 72 divided by 4 is 18. So find the value of x. So just to go ahead and plug that back in, because we should be able to say that 64 equals 64, and then we have a distance from A to C of 128. So that would be 4 times 18 minus 8. 72 minus 8 is 64. So we have a length of 64 here and 64 here, proving that A to E is equal E to C, which means that A to E is half of the distance from E to C, or A to C. So if 64 is 64, that gives you, this whole line is 128. It only asks you to find the value of x. I was just showing you how to check it. So x is 18. Okay, so this is also using properties of a parallelogram. Yet again, so whenever we have this line doing this, we have alternate interior angles. This angle is equal to this angle. That's why I wrote this the way I did. This is just asking you to set up some algebraic stuff based on the properties of parallelograms. I also know that this angle and this angle are congruent. That's why I set this up over here. So it asks you to find the value of x and find the value of y. No problem. So I'm going to go ahead and set this problem up. This is a multi-step equation. My advice with multi-step equations is start with the smallest variable. The smallest variable between 2x and 5x is 2x. How do you get rid of it? Subtract it. Okay, so go ahead and process that. What we were left with was 30. 5x minus 2x gives you 3x, and then minus 9. Now we're down to a two-step equation. You know what to do from there. One-step equation. X is 13. Now, whenever we substitute this in to 2x plus 30 and 5x minus 9, we should come up with the same exact degree measures. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now and check this. So 2 times 13 plus 30, that's 26 plus 30. It should give me an angle measure of 56 right there. Now, if we're right, then 5x minus 9 should be 56 as well, because we know that those are alternate interior angles. So 5 times 13 minus 9. 5 times 13 is 65. Minus 9 is 65. Minus 9 is 56. Awesome. So we just verified opposite angles in a parallelogram are congruent. Verified it. Check. Now we know that these angles are also congruent, as they are part of the same triangle, or part of the same parallelogram. By definition, a parallelogram cut in half by a line of opposite angles is going to create two triangles that are congruent. So again, we have variables on both sides. I would say start with the side that has the smallest variable. 0.5 is less than 1, so I'm going to go ahead and start with that. If we have 1 and we take away 0.5, it's going to give you 0.5. So we want to get the numbers over all by themselves, so I'm going to do plus 12. This is just manipulating math right now. 0.5y 12. Now you divide by 0.5. How many times does 1/2 fit into 12? I'm going to tell you it's 24. So what we should be able to do is substitute 24 into 1/2 times 24, and then 24 minus 12. 1/2 of 24 is 12 degrees, and then 24 minus 12 is 12 degrees. Check, check. So if you wanted to, you could find that angle, and that would also be alternate interior. You could also, I mean, there's plenty of ways, but it only asks you to find x and y. So 13 and 24. Okay, so again, I set up the problem. I highly encourage you to draw whatever it's telling you is in the problem, because I wouldn't be able to do this either if I didn't have a picture. So I went ahead and made the picture and set it all up. AB is, so it said if AB is 7x minus 9, so I want A to B is 7x minus 9, and then CD is 4x plus 30. C to D is 4x plus 30. Find the value of x. Okay, so one thing I do know about rectangles is that these sides are congruent. So I can go ahead and start off with 7x minus 9 is equal to 4x plus 30, multi-step equation. Start with the smallest variable, 4x. This will just keep you from getting a negative variable, and not that that's a big deal, but it's just one less step. 7 minus 4 is 3x, minus 9 equals 30. Two-step equation, plus 9. 3x equals 39, divide by 3. One-step equation. X equals 13. Okay, so what we should be able to do here is substitute 13 in for 7x minus 9 and 4x plus 30, and they should be the exact same answer. So 7 times 13 minus 9 and 4 times 13 plus 30. So let's see. 7 times 10 is 70. 7 times 3 is 21. So 91 minus 9. And then 4 times 10 is 40. 4 times 3 is 12. So 52 plus 30. So it should equal 82. And it does. 82. So you can see here that those are equal exactly as they should be. Your answer is x equals 13. The diagonals. This one took me a minute. I had to think about this for a second, because this is the part right here that makes it make sense. The diagonals of square ABCD intersect at E. So I set it all up. AE is 4x minus 5, and then B to D is 12x minus 38. Well, what I do know is that if I had another 4x minus 5 right here from E to C, that is the same exact distance from A to E as it is from E to C. So I'm going to use a highlighter. This distance is the same distance as this. So why can't I just use two of them? So I did what looks like this. And I know that's going to be equal to the other diagonal, because that's the property of a square. The diagonals intersect, and that they're going to be creating 90-degree angles. And the distance is exactly the same from A to C as it is from B to D. So I can put an equal sign because I know that that's a property of a square. So this is where distributive property comes in. 8x minus 10 equals 12x minus 38. Multi-step equation. Start with your smallest variable, minus 8x. Negative 10 equals 4x minus 38. Get numbers on one side. Two-step equation. Plus 38. 4x equals 28, and one-step equation, divide by 4. X equals 7. Okay, so it said find AC. So I have to go from here to here. Well, let's see if, let's find out. Let's find out what A to C is. So I know it's 4x minus 5 plus 4x minus 5, right? Because this is a 4x minus 5 as well. We know that. They're the same distance, A to E, as is E to C. Okay, so that'll give you 8x. 4x plus 4x is 8x. Negative 5 plus negative 5 is negative 10. And we know that x is 7. So 8 times 7 is 56. Minus 10, 46. Cool. Now, if A to C is 46, then so should B to D. So if I put in x is 7 for 12x minus 38, 12 times 7 minus 38, 12 times 7 is 84 minus 38. Let's see, 84 minus 38, 46. Nice. All right, so then that means the distance from B to D is also 46, proving that our answer is actually 7. So this is a good answer right here. X is 7. Woo! So there is a property of a trapezoid, and I went ahead and put it right here. The length of a midsegment of a trapezoid is equal to half of the sum of the lengths of its bases. It's like, what? Okay, so 37 is 1/2 of whatever 28 plus x is. Okay? So if we double 37, we get 74. We can figure out what this length is because this is half of whatever this plus this is. Okay? So let's take 28 away from 74. X should equal 46. So just know that if you're given a midsegment just means a line that's crossing through exactly the middle from one side of the slanty to the other side of the slanty, slanty and slanty, that is going to be exactly half of whatever the top and bottom are added together. That's where the 74 came in. That was the sum of 28 and x, 74. And I had to figure out what was left so I could figure out what 28 was added to get 74. That's where I got 46. All right, in the quadrilateral, QU is parallel to AD. Okay, so QU parallel to AD. Angle Q is congruent to angle U. Okay, so these angles are equal. I'm just going to go ahead and do that. And QU is not congruent to AD. Okay, so which of the following statements is a reasonable conclusion? QD, so Q to D would be parallel to UA. Not true. They're perpendicular. Or they're bisecting each other. Measure of angle Q is congruent to the measure of angle A. Q and A. Not true. Quadrilateral quad is our rectangle. Well, if we know that QU and AD are parallel, okay? And angle Q is not, and angle Q is congruent to angle U. Cool. So far, it could be a rectangle. QU is not congruent to AD. So we have, they're parallel, but they're not congruent. So rectangles are parallel and congruent. Parallel and congruent. So it's not a rectangle. This is going to leave you with an isosceles trapezoid. So we're finding out what it isn't to find out what it is. Okay, so rules of slope. Basically, if you're ever looking at the same slope, you see parallel lines. Okay? If you're looking at opposite slopes, you're looking at lines that cross. So if we were to make a coordinate plane and we were to go, let's say, up 1 over 3, up 1 over 3, up 1 over 3, up 1 over 3. Okay? Down 1 over 3, down 1 over 3, down 1 over 3, down 1 over 3. And then if I were to, say, start at a different point and do the same slope, up 1 over 3, up 1 over 3, up 1 over 3, down 1 over 3, down 1 over 3. You can see how they're parallel. Let's go ahead and take a look at slope with opposites. So underneath every whole number or integer, there's going to be a 1. So that's down 3 over 1. So let's start from the origin. Down 3 over 1, down 3 over 1, up 3 over 1, up 3 over 1, up 3 over 1. All right, now let's do positive 3. Up 3, right 1, up 3, right 1, up 3, right 1, down 3, left 1, down 3, left. You can see how they're crossing now. Okay, so this is what this is trying to tell you. You got parallel lines. BC is parallel to DA. Okay, we know that. So find the one that says that. DA is not parallel to BC. Gone. AB is parallel to CD. DA is not parallel to BC. Get rid of you. AB is parallel to, well, DA is parallel to, oh, hey, look at that. Okay, that works. DA is parallel to BC. Cool. All right, so we narrowed it down to 2. This is good, and this is good. But is AB parallel to CD? Here's AB. It is not parallel to CD. No. So AB is parallel to CD? Nope. Sorry. DA is parallel to BC, just like we wrote, and AB is not parallel to CD because they cross each other. They're intersecting lines. Okay, so just like another rule of a parallelogram, this is just going to be one side is congruent to the other. You know, they have a pair of parallel sides, 2 pairs of parallel sides that are congruent. This side's congruent to this one, and these sides are congruent to these. And they're both pairs of parallel sides, hence a parallelogram. The only difference between this and a rectangle is that this does not have 90-degree angles. So that's how we know that 8x minus 7 is going to be equal to x plus 63. There's a way that since you were given the answers, you could just substitute these answers into these little expressions and then find out which one makes them equal. Or you could just solve a multi-step equation. Start with the smallest variable, minus x, 7x minus 7 equals 63. Okay, 2-step equation, plus 7, 7x equals 70, divide, 1-step equation, x equals 10. Hey, boom, there it is. And just to be thorough, you're taking a test, you don't want to do it twice. 8 times 10 minus 7, 80 minus 7, that's going to be 73. Then you've got 10 plus 63, 73. That's how you know. Okay? And you could have used the answer 10 as substituted in without doing any of this work, but you'd have been solving more problems than you needed to. For rhombus GHJK, for some reason that was difficult to say. Find the measure of angle 1. Okay, so we know that this is 90. Okay, so 132. So this is also 132. And that we know that this is also 90. What could we do? Let's see. I already solved this. I'm just going blank. Um, well, 132 and 132. Let's say that we have a parallelogram here. Okay, so we know it's going to be 360. So we know that this is there and that's there. We know that these angles are going to be congruent, just like these two angles are congruent. So this is just really a whole bunch of mumbo jumbo. So let's go ahead and figure this out. So 132 and 132 will give you 264. So what's left over? I don't know. 264. Let's see. 5 times 6, 2, 9, 96 degrees. And we know that those are equal, so we'll divide that by 2. 96 divided by 2, that's going to be 4, 8, 1, 2, 48 degrees. So we know that's 48, and that's 48. Okay, so now what we're looking at is we have a 90-degree angle, a 48-degree angle, and we're missing one right there, angle 1. Now we're dealing with just messing with this triangle. Okay. Now we did something using the property of a parallelogram or a rhombus. We know that the opposite angles are congruent. So if this was 132, we know that that's 132. So what we did was, because we know that these are equal, we figured out how many degrees were left. 96. And we know that since there's 2 of them and they're equal, we divided by 2. We got 48. That's how we got 48 degrees in both of these. Now we can use the property of a triangle and use a missing angle, and the 2 angles we currently have, 90 and 48, to get 138, then take it away from 180, find out what's left. Let's see if it comes up. 2, 4, 42 degrees. Score. Okay. These problems are not easy. These problems are difficult. I wish you the best of luck, sir.